As they head back, they suddenly noticed that the village was attacked. Lamis rushes back to the end, but it's been completely destroyed and she worries about Minami. However, Boxxo manages to calm her down and Lanas thinks Minami could have evacuated to the Hunters Association. We see a giant double-headed snake which was responsible for all the damage and Lamis finds the two guards. She asks about Minami and her mother and the guards tell her they are safe inside. We see that the building is well guarded because it's where the transfer circle is located. Minami welcomes Lamis back and they are happy everyone is safe. Boxxo thinks about helping the people and he decides to give them all free items for the day. At night we learn that the snake is normally the natural enemy of the frog monsters and Boxxo is surprised to see the villagers cooking enough for food. There's a huge line since he's giving away free items and it even helps attract some new faces. He thinks it will make him even more money in the long run and we see he has even started selling alcohol. Lamis gets a bit drunk, happy that everything turned out well. She is also happy seeing everyone gathered around him and she thinks he has become an integral part of their lives. The next day the people start the repairs and Boxxo is set up at the association where there are plenty of people around. Lamas visits him mentioning that the director gave her a personal request and it's to help with removing the rubble. She takes Boxxo over to the end and she starts moving the rocks, easily smashing them into pieces. Her car gets full and she prepares to take it to the dump, but Calroy suddenly appears. He offers to treat everyone to some of Boxxo's items. Lamas gets excited and Calroy tries to recruit her to his team along with Boxxo. But she instantly refuses. Calroy walks off rejected and Lamis says she's too busy with helping rebuild the inn. The next day Boxxo was visited by a woman and her assistant. Lamis wonders who they are and the woman introduces herself as a Kawi from the exchange house. She mentions they are there because it seems the village is low on silver coins. Lamis thinks it must be because Boxxo only takes silver coins and he can't believe she ratted him out. Akawi proposes exchanging for her gold coins, but Boxxo isn't able to do it since he doesn't have an exchange function. Lamis suggests they could just buy something with a gold coin and they will be able to get the silver coins as change. They end up with a whole chest full of silver coins, but the thief sees their exchange. Later on we see an old man in front of Boxxo and we see he has added a lottery function. The man is devastated when he loses, wanting to spin again, but he ends up getting dragged off by his wife. The young girl Shiori visits with a bunch of rocks to cause trouble, but she dropped them all when she is startled by his voice and she gets carried off by some men. As she approaches again the next day, she is disappointed that her father is away. Boxxo can tell she is feeling down, so he gives her a free juice and she thanks him. At night Boxxo gets set up at the bathhouse and we see that he also sells hygiene products like shampoo and he seems to be a big hit with the furry creatures. The next day the old man is back and this time with his granddaughter. He teaches her about the lottery function and the girl is excited to try. She actually ends up winning and her grandfather can't believe it. She gets an item for free, but she ends up just giving it to her grandfather to make him happy, saying she had a great time with him, and it seems Boxxo rigged it for her. The next day the director approaches Boxxo. He heard that Boxxo now has the ability to disguise himself, so he asks him to hide out where a bunch of crimes have been taking place so he can help identify the culprit. He ends up being set up right outside the front of the association. Lamis wonders where he has gone, but Minami reminds her the director was borrowing him, so Lamis continues to help around the association. Boxxo has a quiet day, but we see Shiori looking around for him. She runs into Lamis and she wonders if she has given any more thought to her proposal. However, Lamis says she's not going to sell Boxxo. Shiori says she would have enough money for the rest of her life. But Lamis refuses, saying Boxxo is irreplaceable. Shiori wonders what Boxxo truly is, but even Lamis isn't sure. She thinks that since he can understand and respond to everything, she sees him the same as another person, and Boxxo is happy to hear she feels this way. Shiori declares she will give Boxxo one way or another, but she leaves for the day, telling Lamis to take care of him until that day comes. Boxxo reappears and Lamas is shocked to see him, but she tells him she missed him and she is excited to tell him about her day. The next day we see Boxxo as he gets wheeled around on a cart, but it turns out he has actually been kidnapped and he wonders where he's being taken. A few hours earlier we see Boxxo getting approached by a group of men. They tell him they were hired by the director to help reinforce the walls. So they tell him the director wants him to go with them so he can help feed the workers. Boxxo knows this is the shady guy that tried to steal from him, but he thinks he must be reformed. Since he's working for the director, he agrees to go with them. So the men load him onto their cars, but after 8 hours he comes to the realization of what's really going on. He wonders how far they're going and they eventually stop to have a break. While they are stopped, Boxxo takes the chance to use his security camera to take photos of all of their faces. He's approached by the thief and the man threatens him to give them food. Boxxo refuses, so the man stabs him, causing him to take some damage. But the boss reprimands the thief, telling him not to damage the merchandise. The boss tells Boxxo to hand over all his money, but Boxxo refuses. They know Boxxo is able to repair himself, so the boss tells his men to rough him up. The men start bashing into him, and although the damage isn't a lot, he wonders if there's anything he can do about it. He gets a notification that he can enhance his toughness by spending 1,000 points, and it instantly makes him tougher, reducing the damage from the attacks to 0. The boss notices that Boxxo doesn't seem to be repairing, getting worried they may have broken him. But the thief assures him it's fine. Boxxo gives them some drinks and the man is relieved he is still working. They all try out the drink, but it turns out to be disgusting, because it was Boxxo's lowest rated drink. They reach their base at night and Boxxo gets taken inside. They tell a woman to take a look at him, but they get scared as she approaches, so they just throw her the instructions and quickly run away. The woman starts talking to Boxxo and he wonders if he should answer honestly. The woman introduces herself as Halami and Boxxo recognizes her as friend. She's actually a magic item engineer, and it turns out she was also kidnapped. Boxxo starts talking to her and she is instantly impressed to see a magic item that can understand and speak with people. She reads the instructions and she soon figures out how he can communicate. Halami reveals she has experimented with trying to give magic items human intelligence, but concluded it's not possible with their technology. So she started thinking about putting a human soul into an item instead. Boxxo is amazed she figured it out, and Halami says she needs a drink from all-out excitement. Boxxo gives her one of his teas and she finds it delicious. They keep on talking and Boxxo confirms he actually has a human soul and has memories of his past. Halami wonders why he requires money, because normal magic items don't require any. Boxxo decides to show her transform into his other form, and Halami realizes he must use the money to gain additional functions. She wonders what else he can do, so he shows her his barrier skill. She thinks it's some kind of wall, but Boxxo lets her pass through and Halami is amazed he can even use a blessing. But Boxxo was impressed she is working everything out so quickly. Halami goes to sleep and Boxxo wonders if the people in the village have noticed that he's missing. At that moment the bandits return, wanting to get payback on Halami for scaring them. But Boxxo suddenly transforms, turning into a magazine dispenser, and he instantly attracts the man. The men become too distracted and they all decide to head back to their rooms, saying they have business to take care of. The next day a man comes in to give Halami food. Halami is disappointed seeing a single loaf of bread, so Boxxo decides to give her some of his food. He treats her to all kinds of different foods and she thinks he is even better than a restaurant. Halami is completely stuffed, but the boss enters wanting to know what she has figured out. Halami doesn't want to cooperate, but the boss tells her she has 2 days to figure out how to get Boxxo's money. So Boxxo thinks they need to find a way to escape. Then Halami continues on with examining him and their time is running out. Boxxo thinks about making a distraction to give Halami a chance to get away, but Halami has a serious talk with him, telling him not to think about sacrificing himself because the area is surrounded by monsters. So even if she got away she wouldn't be able to survive. She gets tired, so she calls it for the night. But Boxxo wonders what to do about their deadline. During the night there is suddenly a commotion outside. So he quickly wakes Halami up. They realize there's a fight going on outside and they suddenly hear Lami's voice. We see the fight outside and Lami's calls for Boxxo charging into the building. Halami is surprised that Boxxo is friends with Lami's and she thinks they should be fine to just wait to be rescued. But Halami suddenly thinks they could be in trouble because besides storing all their gold here, the bandits also have explosives. Boxxo worries hearing this and some of the explosives go off, causing the ceiling to come crashing down. But Boxxo protects them with his barrier. Halami wonders if he can hold the barrier forever. But he admits that he can't. He thinks he would survive being crushed since he upgraded his toughness, but he worries for Halami. She realizes that his ability must use money, so she points out the bandit's stash of gold. Boxxo lets it through his barrier and he jacks up the prices on all his items. While Halami deposits all the money into him, Boxxo gains an insane number of points and he thinks he'll be able to hold out until Lami saves them. But Halami suddenly collapses. Boxxo realizes she can't breathe because his barrier also stops air from getting in. He thinks about what he can do and he suddenly transforms to turning into an oxygen vending machine. Halami is able to breathe and Boxxo is glad he was a vending machine fanatic in his past.
What?
Knowing that in 1965 there were oxygen vending machines because there were concerns about air pollution, Halami thinks she would fall for him if he were a man, and even Boxxo is charmed by her. Lami's makes it to them and she is overjoyed to finally find him. She slips through the barrier, crashing into him, but she cries thinking she had lost him. She hugs onto him apologizing for not watching him, and he is glad to be reunited with her as well. Lamis eventually realizes Halami is also there, and Halami is glad they got out safely. Philomena wonders why Calroy helped out when there was no money involved. Calroy says he's just a nice guy, but Philomena knows he is trying to gain a favor from Boxxo, and Calroy says they will achieve their dream by any means necessary. And that's the end of the video. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to my channel. I will bring more excitement anime in the future. Thanks for watching, bye.